Hey brothers and sisters, today I want to talk about the attacks on what many are calling the rescue rapture. There's recently an interview that Brother Lee and Pastor Brandon talked about on their live stream with Benjamin Thomas. And what I wanted to do is read an excerpt from this book that they are promoting by Benjamin Thomas, and then I will include some clips from the interview, about 4 minutes, and then we'll comment on some of the things that they said. But regarding his book called The Revelation Riddle, The Revelation Riddle, The Kingdom Age of the Saints, End Times for the New World Order, a new nonfiction book that challenges traditional Christian end times doctrine, including the rescue rapture. Mr. Thomas asserts that it's not the end times for the church, but it's the end times for the NWO. The church's best days are ahead. A fusion of world history, current events, biblical interpretation, and prophetic glimpses in the future, Kingdom Age of the Saints, End Times for the New World Order offers a much-needed fresh perspective on the end times. The book presents compelling yet provocative evidence that Christians fail to discern the times, leading to unfulfilled destinies and needless fear-based paralysis. Okay, so the basis for this man's theology and Eric, who is interviewing him, is what we call Kingdom Now theology. The fact that the church's best days are ahead. The idea of a rapture is foolishness. It's not biblical. They go so far as to call it bad theology. And so they have this idea that we need to fight, that we need to do a better job of making the world a better place, and that there's absolutely no place for a rapture in the end times. Now, as I play these clips, it's going to be very evident where they stand, and you're going to find yourself getting angry. But what I want you to do is kind of just listen to what they're saying. I will admit that a lot of what he is saying, we're guilty of. I mean, I'm guilty of saying a lot of what they promote. So just kind of listen in, and then I'll comment on the end of this video clip here.
I was poking along. A friend of mine came to my house in Texas at the time and sort of educated me on how the world really worked. And honestly, Eric, it scared me. When I understood how organized our enemy really was, it really scared me. I was frightened. And frankly, armed with only my teaching from my evangelical church upbringing, which was pretty much could be summarized in, yeah, things get really bad, and then one day we just get rescued. And so that was how I was brought up. That was what I was taught. And so when I heard, when I was educated, if you will, on how the world really worked, I got into fear, frankly. I mean, I thought, well, do we get rescued, during the bad stuff or at the end of the bad stuff? Look, what I call the rescue rapture has really taken the church and put them on the sideline. People don't, for instance, run for Congress. They don't, go to school board meetings. They don't participate in society because they believe that Jesus will come at any moment and rescue them. And I think that's the fruit of this rescue rapture.
On the one hand, they think Jesus is going to rescue them. On the other hand, there are a lot of people I've met that they're almost psyched to see the world go to hell. They're almost psyched to see everything get worse, like, ha, judgment is coming, instead of being moved by compassion to help those who might be helped. They're kind of glad to see it go downhill. And for me, that the United States of America is the classic example that, like, this country was founded to be a shining city on a hill, to be a beacon of liberty, and to be able to be a place, kind of almost like a launching pad for gospel missionaries and gospel principles and purposes around the world. And a lot of people who have this rapture rescue mentality, they're kind of like, nah, we're happy to see America go down the tubes. It's already under judgment. It deserves judgment because of all the babies killed and blah, blah, blah. And they're not even slightly patriotic, thinking, what can I do to help my nation stand for God's principles? And they're the ones buying the idea that, oh yeah, that's Christian nationalism. I'm just about Jesus. And what you bring in this book, and I want to get to the details, is how bad end time theology feeds that and has fed that and has led us to a place where the church has, I mean, imagine what happens when the church pulls the salt and light out of the culture.
I think a lot of the reason people don't fight is because we've been taught there's no need to. You're going to be raptured out of here. We're going to be rescued. And so this place is going to burn up anyway. And so that's generally what people believe. Now, they may not use those words, but deep down inside, that is what they've been taught, and that's what they believe. Why didn't you go to college? You obviously have these gifts. You have these gifts and these talents that God is using you for. Why didn't you go to school? And he goes, well, I grew up in the South, and my church told me there's no need to go to college. Jesus could come by any time.
What?
And there's no reason for you to go to school. And he said, that's why I didn't go to school. And I think he's not alone. I think there are a lot of people whose dreams have been, frankly, put on ice because they were taught this doctrine around end times and this, I call it the rescue rapture. Frankly, it's we're going to get rescued, and it keeps people out of the game. It keeps people out of their calling, and honestly, it puts their passions and their gifts on the sideline. Talk about bad things that happen. A lot of Christians are like, yeah, see, that's it. I told you things will get worse. And they think it's a fulfillment somehow of Bible prophecy, but at the end of the day, it has taken the church out of the game. And that's one of the reasons why we don't have great candidates running for Congress or running for president. That's one of the reasons we find ourselves in a place where Satan has taken over the 7 pillars of our society. And then we are shocked. We act shocked, like, oh my gosh, how did that happen? The reason it happened is the Christians were not involved. We thought things were just going to blow up. The world was going to burn up. And so we took a back seat. And I think that's the fruit of that mentality. And unfortunately, a contributor, not the only contributor, but certainly a contributor to where we are today.
Oh, there's no doubt.
Culture.
Okay, brothers and sisters, so you've heard it for yourself, and I'm sure many of you are upset by what they're saying. But let's just take a step back and just kind of examine some of the things that were said. One being that us as believers who believe in the rapture, or as he calls it, the rescue rapture, like to just sit by idly and watch the world burn. That's definitely not the heart that we are supposed to have, especially in the mission that God has called us. Those of us who understand that the Bible does teach a pre-tribulation rapture understand that time is running out, the stage is being set. Yes, we are seeing the world get worse, but it motivates us and spurs us on to love and good deeds, to evangelize, to reach lost souls, to snatch them out of the fire, to preach the gospel. So, they're only talking about one side of things. And just because he grew up in this climate and lacks the understanding of what the tribulation is and what the pre-trib rapture is, it doesn't make it false theology. It doesn't make it bad theology. One of the things he did say that I would say we are guilty of in the end times camp, or the prophecy camp, is sometimes many of us don't pursue things because we do believe the Lord is coming soon. And I think that's a lot of the blame goes on people that don't have the proper balance, right? They push high watch dates, and they act as if we're not supposed to do anything but watch. But in the Bible, watching is always synonymous with waiting and being busy about the Lord's business. Now, not everybody promotes this, but I have seen enough comments on my page and other people's pages that people are just honestly being idle. They're just they're sick of this world, and they just want the Lord to come back, and so they have kind of given up on life. And that's not the attitude that we're supposed to have, but I think that's where these guys are getting that idea from. So again, just something to think about. We have a lot of work to do in the body of Christ as far as sharpening one another, and I think this is an area, an interview we can use to say, hey, this isn't true. We who believe in our blessed hope are actually being purified. We're being set apart, and we're actually we're being more diligent to reach souls because we know that the Lord could return at any time to take the church before Jacob's trouble starts. So again, I encourage you to check out Brandon's analysis of this interview, and because he does a really good job of that. And just remember that some of what these guys are saying, there is some truth to that, but I think it's taken out of context, and we can always work on bettering ourselves and just providing an apologetic, right? Because the Lord has given us the script. God has given us the book of Revelation so that we understand the times, so we can see the stage being set, so we know how to interpret the signs, so we know how to connect the prophetic dots in order to realize that Jesus is coming much sooner than we think. We don't know when he's coming, but that doesn't give us a license to sit down and do nothing. One of the things that these guys hold to is, again, like I said at the beginning of the video, kingdom now theology. One of the things he holds to is called the seven mountain mandate. And in a nutshell, this basically lines up with more of Antichrist theology than biblical theology, because we know the Antichrist will use false signs, lying wonders to deceive the masses. And so this is this idea of that the world needs to get better. We need to come together in unity. And a lot of these things, I think, are exactly what the Antichrist is going to do through his false peace in the first 3.5 years of the tribulation. So I think these guys that are promoting this kingdom now theology are playing right into the hands of Satan and mocking the rapture. And then those that are left behind will play into this kingdom now theology, this idea that the people being left over are the chosen ones to make the world better, and they'll most likely accept the Antichrist and build this kingdom, this false kingdom, and use a lot of these seven mountain mandates. And the book of Revelation talks about 7 mountains, but this refers to the beast system. So again, we need to use discernment and just kind of connect the dots on why is the rapture being attacked and why is this kingdom now theology being pushed. I hope this is helpful for you guys. Please leave your comment, and as always, Maranatha.